Welcome to this edition of Fastlane, a JCTV podcast. On this second show, we talked to Jonathan Parker last week to preview his chances in the Blazer Sim Racing and the Pits News Truck Series as he leads the chase standings with a couple of weeks remaining. We cover all topics, including last week's ninth running of the iRacing.Funny 250. We also recap the Slide Job Racing League MFRD Premier Series season opener with multiple drivers. Austin Magill, Noah Mairui, Zachery Wareham, and Christopher Basinger also all got in the fast lane and talked about their respective Daytona races and season outlook. A quick recap of the DI9 Designs NAOR series for Martinsville is also featured before the penultimate race at Charlotte this Friday. And finally, we debut JCTV picks ahead of Sunday's running of the 65th Daytona 500.
Jonathan Parker now joins us on Fastlane. We'll start off at Bristol this past weekend. You recovered from a spin with Michael Kruger to get up in contention late. What was that rally like in the middle of that race?
Um, I just kind of, I don't even really know. The race was basically a fever dream because me and Mikey had contact. I think it was a little bit net code. I backed it into the wall, and after that, I didn't really have much to lean on the right rear. Just kind of the car fell off the racetrack, so I had to use the extra set of tires, and I guess it didn't really burn me in the end because I would have stayed out anyway. But I ended up getting junked anyway, so I guess it didn't really matter. But it was a good rally until then. I was gonna finish like what, third, fourth, something like that, depending on how it went. So it's I'm just more shocked I had a chance to win at Bristol because I'm not very good there.
Talking about the finish at Bristol, things didn't go your way. You were unfortunately involved in an accident, but you had a couple of really fast cars up in front of you with the eventual winner, Michael Kruger, and second place finisher, Josh Arnold. What do you think, with a short amount of laps remaining, that you were going to have to do to try to get around them had you not been involved in an accident?
I just had to basically hope Mikey got a bad start, and then I could just stay side by side with him and won. Because otherwise, the leader has a pretty big advantage. So if I didn't get a good restart, and then I was just basically fighting for second there with Josh, and then all hell broke loose.
Well, going into Homestead this week, you got a 10-point advantage over Michael and 35 more to Alex Kilfin. So, what's the mindset going into this race at Homestead? Different track than we've really raced at all season long.
I gotta go out there and win because Mikey's gonna bring his best. And I gotta really stay out of the pack because there really hasn't been a lot of respect, at least around me, from those guys mid pack, as that was pretty apparent at Bristol. And the only really way to get back to them, I could knock the crap out of them, or I could just outrun them. I just gotta outrun them because I'm not gonna knock the crap out of them. I'm kind of like Martin Truex in that respect. I'm not gonna really pump people like that, so I just gotta not put myself in that position, which that's pretty hard at Bristol. So I was happy I ran the way I ran at Bristol, but that shouldn't be as much of a problem at Homestead. It's more Martinsville where I got to worry about that because there's going to be a lot of, at some point you're going to be mid pack.
So tomorrow night you make your debut in NAOR. Of course, this race is going to happen before this actually gets out there to listeners at home. So the results will definitely be out there. But I hear, I've never actually witnessed, but I hear you have quite the record at Martinsville. How do you think, from your past successes into video games, do you think it's going to transition to the sim here on iRacing going into Martinsville in NAOR?
Not very much. This track doesn't really have much in common with the other games that I've played, but I'm just more looking to get my feet wet. I'm close to the end of the season, I'm pretty sure, so I just kind of want to race people with respect, and I don't want to really be part of the story. I'll just obviously do my best to win, but I don't want to. If I'm the headline, it's probably for all the wrong reasons, and I don't I don't want that.
So you've brought up in some of your past interviews that you're not the biggest fan of the way these trucks race in the Pits News Truck Series. So you're racing in NAOR tomorrow night, like Josh mentioned, and we've also seen you in Slide Job the other night at Daytona. So what is it like in the difference for those cars compared to the truck?
Oh, it's night and day. You could do just so much more with the Xfinity car than you can do with the truck. You can really do a lot to conserve your stuff, but still maintain pace, and that really, I really enjoy that compared to the truck, where it's kind of like you're in a slot car, and if you want to conserve your stuff and you're banking on a long run, you kind of just have to go slow. And you've seen that from me a few times this year. Pocono really, that's like a giant red flag, I guess. There, I went so slow at the beginning of the runs just so I wouldn't burn the crap out of my stuff. But the Xfinity car, it's not as bad in that regard. You can maintain pace and still save your stuff. So I'm looking forward to that in both Slide Job and NAOR.
Yeah, and speaking of Slide Job, you ran pretty decent the other night in your debut there, running in the iRacing.Funny 250. How was that from your advantage, your seat? Pretty chaotic finish, a bunch of crashes. How did you get through them all and get to the end?
Um, I guess I really didn't get through them all. I got wrecked on the backstretch because we're slamming the brakes at a plate track, and I thought I was on 995. I got really I couldn't believe what I was watching. I ended up spun in the grass, and after that, I kind of had damage where I had to be full throttle to stay with the pack. But I was able to do it, and I just got lucky, sort of lucky at the end to avoid wrecks. Plate race is not really, even in real life, I don't really like it. It's such a hot take I have, I know, and I don't really want to get into that because I don't want to get killed by our listeners. But hey, I'm just excited for Chicagoland. Yeah, Chicagoland. I'm excited for that.
So, is there any track really on the schedule for a Slide Job coming up that you have circled? One that really stands out to you that you're really looking forward to going to?
I don't know the schedule. Actually, I could look. Um, Las Vegas has always been all right for me. Um, Darlington in the playoffs. I really like Darlington. It's a fun track. That's like, in real life, it's slipping and sliding. There's not a lot of grip, and it holds true in the sim. Those setups are outstanding. All of them are pretty loose, and usually if it's a looser setup, I really like to. That's kind of in my wheelhouse. And I'm gonna assume that's a pretty long race because most Darlington races are pretty long, and I like that too. And I also really like Auto Club, so those are the ones I kind of, I guess, have circled, but those are pretty far in the future. So I'll just take it one week at a time.
And going back to the truck series, of course, like we mentioned earlier, you're leading the points. Going to be with just 2 races to go, heading into Martinsville. Talked about it a little bit with NAOR, but a little bit of confidence going into that track, just a little bit. But what do you have to look forward to that race, and can you escape all the chaos there? And then what are your sights set on for Kansas? I know it's a little bit far away right now, but what can you picture from that point of view?
Yeah, Martinsville is definitely the biggest concern because it's halfway not really in my control. It's just kind of how, if people want to sit there and dive bomb me in Martinsville, I got a target on my back. They could dive it on in there and just mess me up, I guess. But I guess kind of have to work the strategy and try and keep track position. And like I said a little bit earlier, I just kind of have to try and outrun them. I would just rather. I mean, racing's fine, but I'd rather just not really have like a target on my back because if you look at the ratio of how many people I've spun this season versus how many people have spun off of I've gotten spun. I'll spoil it for you. I haven't wrecked anyone this year, and I've gotten wrecked quite a lot this year at a lot of different types of tracks. And it's not even just one person. I don't know if I'm just unlucky, but I just don't really appreciate what I, in some instances, see as blatant disrespect. And I think you kind of saw that at the end of Bristol there. That was just pretty blatant.
With that going forward, is there anything you can change to race people racing for this championship with just a couple weeks to go?
there's nothing much else I could do other than pull over and let them pass or drive away from them. I can't. Or if I'm behind them, I can knock the ever living dog, you know what, out of them, and maybe that'll probably just cause a war, and they'll bitch at me, and then I don't know. There's not much I could do. If they want to race me a certain way, I guess I just kind of have to put up with it. And I gotta know who will race me with respect and who won't. Because trust me, there are people who still do race me with respect. I'm not gonna name any names in either way. I don't want to cause drama. I know who they are in my head. I kind of have a tally of who race me kind of ridiculously and who will race me hard but fair. So if I kind of get like the vibe that I might get wrecked, I guess I gotta remember there's bigger picture.
Well, I thought of this question before your latest answer, but I'm wondering, talking about not so much as the bad, but is there a driver that you really look forward to racing? Someone that um, you can race against, and just one driver that if it could just be a head-on-head battle with, who would you pick as that driver?
I have to pick just one. I can't pick multiple.
Just one
Just one. And is this
from
regardless of
from
any point
ITPN.
situation? That doesn't matter.
Just
Or
kind of from the season in ITPN.
um, I would say Cam, but that's kind of cheating because I've raced with him for a long time. Honestly, it's probably Michael Kruger because outside of the net code at Bristol, I mean, he really hasn't gotten into me that much, and he races me really hard, and he has the right to. But he's kept it really clean, and I've had a lot of fun with him. And it's good. It's gonna be a lot of fun over the next 3 races battling him for the championship. He's really fast, and he makes me really think a lot in the race car. Half the races I win really in any league or in any game. I usually win it more with my brain than I do with just raw pace or raw talent. I kind of like to outthink people, and that's happened a couple times this season too, where I've gotten a good finish or a win just the result of just being calm and just thinking through a strategy. And he's I hope I've made him better because he has made me a better race car driver throughout this season, and I hope that's true for a lot of people too. That I've helped them grow.
Real quick, I know iRating doesn't really say much at a super speedway track, but the front row, over 5K iRating.
Should come as no surprise then. Even in their debut, they're still going to rock. Overtime here in the iRacing.Funny 250. It's Mann and Frimpong leading the field back to green. We've got 2 laps to determine it if we can keep it clean. Mann going to have a push by Rupp, and they're wrecking already. Amon into Pacheco. They save it somehow. Only Pacheco's going to suffer down on the apron. A pull back in line somehow, some way. He gets back up on track with the outside lane. Discombobulated. Now Frimpong going to drop. That's going to leave Rupp and Basinger. Top 3 right now heading down the back straightaway.
Outside lane is coming, led by that 33. Now look at Frimpong. He goes to the outside there.
Into 3 and 4. If they can make it through, we'll have 1 more lap to determine it. Mann leads Rupp. Basinger now 3rd in the inside lane. Frimpong trying to work with Johnson and Magill on the outside. Dylan Parker's up in the mix as well. The white flag is out. 1 more lap sponsored by nobody. Nobody pays us to do that. Here comes Frimpong charging to the outside of Mann.
Outside lane is more organized. Go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, if that top lane's gonna get a run, we're gonna see it right here. This will be the time to know if there's gonna be any run from the top. And as we see, Thorpe jumped out the top.
Austin J. Magill to the top. Martin went with him. They're going to drop back in line, though. Magill hung out to dry. Mann and Frimpong side by side, heading through 3 and 4. Field stacking up. Rand's got the run. Rupp is shoving him. Now he's going to clear Frimpong. Now he's got to defend 2 lanes. They're just about sideways. Frimpong and Martin, man, side by side. Coming to the line. It's going to be close. They're going to wreck behind. Sartaj Mann is going to win the iRacing.Funny 250. In his first career start, he gets the win, dominating and leading his way to the victory. Hunter Rupp in second. Dylan Parker comes home third. Christopher Basinger comes home in fourth. And Mark Frimpong put up a hard fight, but at the end gets turned and winds up fifth across the stripe. Justin Johnson takes it home sixth. William Martin seventh. Austin J. McGill 8th, Jonathan Parker 9th, and Bridger Olson started outside pole, finishes 10th place here tonight.
What an incredible race that we saw. And we're about to watch man burn it down at Daytona.
Sartaj Mann, an incredible drive to get to the victory in dominating fashion, pretty much. From starting this race to get to the win here, double checking to see. Looks like he started back in row number 12, back in 23rd. Is where this 49 car started, but he winds up in victory lane here tonight. The winner of the iRacing.Funny 250, but of course, where we have the winner celebrating, we've got some heartbreak. Of course, Frimpong, that rough competition there at the end, wound up in 5th. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened at the end there. And that chaotic wreck coming to the finish line.
And something I'm keeping tabs on right now, the 30 truck is closing on the top, or the 2 drivers battling for the 2nd position. He could play separator here between the 2 and cause issues for Nathan Fuller or the 43 of Moreno.
Yeah, as soon as you say that, Coffin comes over the driver radio and says he's going to chill right there, so he doesn't interfere with that P2 battle. He knows it's the dash for cash also, so he said he's just going to sit right there and ride and watch.
Yeah, and I believe I'm hearing some frustration over the 4 radio of the blinking issue we had talked about with Moreno. 4 truck feeling like it's not safe for him to pass if Moreno's going to be blinking. Kind of feel for him in the terms of a car that you can't see where he is on track. How do you pass a guy like that?
Yeah, obviously Fuller wants to get around him and get that spot, but he doesn't want to wreck him to do it, and can't see him. You can't judge that properly. It's been, unfortunately, a common theme all season long for Ethan Fonseca Moreno.
As Jonathan Parker comes through turn 4, it's going to be the white flag this time by. Moreno has finally been trying to pull him in. He's been having faster laps, but it's just too late. Parker now into 1 and 2. Dominant this whole race, this whole season for this 81 truck. We've seen him just dominate these races he gets out front of, and he just goes on and just beats the field. And that's what we're seeing here tonight yet again. Michael Kruger is 4th. He's going to not jump tremendously, but it's still going to be a big buffer now between himself and that 14 truck for the championship. Through 3 and 4, Jonathan Parker scores win number 5 on his career here at Homestead, and Ethan Fonseca Moreno 2nd place. He will be the Dash for Cash winner tonight. So those two are going to both get to celebrate together here.
And coming out of turn 4, looks like Josh Coppernoll got by Roy Crump, and he's going to bring home a top 10 here tonight.
Indeed he did. Let's see if we can go back and see how he got by him. looking to see there. Yeah, he was just well ahead of him there on that last lap. So Josh Coppernoll, 10th place finish. He'll celebrate it like he won the race. But Jonathan Parker, man, oh man, what is there left to say about him tonight?
Josh Coppernoll is now my guest on Fastlane. Josh, usually the host, but doing a little things different here after your 10th place finish the other night in the Pits News Truck Series from Homestead Miami Speedway. What was that race like, being out there in the midst of the chase?
Yeah, Adam, it was a tough race. Going into turn one, it was really tight, and coming off turn four, it was super loose. The track was really tough and kind of hard to figure out. But I I had a blast out there trying to learn the track, racing around other people. I actually had an incredible battle with Roy Crump there at the end of the race, and the dirty air was absolutely atrocious. Trying to get around him, and it wasn't that he was doing anything wrong. It was I wasn't able to figure out what to do correct. So I I was struggling. He ended up getting into the wall, and I was able to pass him. And then I screwed up, and he got past me. And it was just kind of a battle between us, flip flopping, and it really wasn't trying to pass the other because you could. It was waiting for the other to make a mistake and then getting around him and capitalizing on that. And that's exactly what happened. And ultimately, he had gotten into the wall again, which allowed me to get out in front of him. And I was able to keep it out there, but I almost screwed it up myself and almost pretty much handed it back to him. So that was an incredible battle that I had with Roy. But the whole race overall, I mean, it just that track was so hard to figure out. It was not what I was expecting at all, but it was a blast.
Yeah, I was watching a lot of guys slide off of turn 4 and turn 2 last night in that practice session. Happened quite a bit in the race as well, like you mentioned. How much did you get up towards that wall, and did that offset the oversteer off the exit of the corners at all?
I didn't really get up to the wall too much. There was a little bit of time when I was riding behind Zach Probst, and as I mentioned, like going into one was super tight, and he was doing a great job entering turn one. I think way better than I was, but it seemed like every time I would try to do exactly what he was doing, my truck would just like not want to follow him, and so I started to go up towards the wall in turn one, and it would help, but I still had no drive off of trying to get up to him. Other drivers like David Duran, he was making the high line work pretty early on. I think he was like the first one to go up there right away, even to drop the green flag. But I didn't really try it out too much. And when I did go up there, uh, it was simply just because of dirty air and trying to get clean air on my nose.
Well, last night was your 5th career top 10 finish in the Pits News Truck Series. What does that have to say for yourself and your opinion? Pretty struggleful season, I'd say, and you would tend to agree, I think, from the conversations we had. And rough week at Bristol last weekend. Didn't even really get into the rhythm of things before you got wrecked out.
Yeah, well, Bristol was tough because there was a lot of accidents, and I kind of, if you will, arc braked into it and or into an accident, and it absolutely destroyed the front end of my truck rather. Um, I saw pure chaos. Got on my brakes, locked them up, and was sliding right into the wreck. Um, but to really answer your question, it's the goal is to finish top 10 every race. Obviously, the stats say otherwise, but I think we got a great group of drivers on PBR. I just need to really buckle down and start working to get better myself. And I think the results will show. And one of my biggest issues is trying to still be fast while saving tires. The one thing, I mean, because you can go out there and be fast and then kill your tires, or you can save and have tires at the end, but you're already so slow and way behind people. And that's where I'm at. And I'm trying to figure out that happy medium of still being up there, but still being able to save my tires as well. And I think once I'm able to figure that out, the results will start to improve. It'll start to show, and hopefully one day we're up there competing for wins on a regular basis.
Well, to get there, we got to start first at the next race. You won't be on track at Martinsville. I believe you're going to be joining me up in the booth next Saturday night. So Kansas to end the season, back in the saddle there. Different track, mile and a half, though that's the same. Race is a little bit similar, but how much difference is those two tracks back to back for yourself, and what do you have to expect in that race for that 42 JCTV machine?
Yeah, like one thing that comes to my mind is when I think of Kansas, I think of highline track, but iRacing never fails to amaze me with some things, and so I don't know. Like I haven't put any laps down right now as things stand at Kansas here lately, and especially not in the truck. Um, so I can say that I'm going to be running next to the wall. I think that's going to be the line, but I could be wrong. It could be at the bottom where you'll see a lot of guys running at. So as far as similarities, Kansas, it is a wide track. Homestead is very wide. And you can make the wall work at Homestead if you do it right. And I think you're going to see that as well at Kansas. If it's not a highline preferred track, definitely going to see drivers going up there trying to find something later in a run, trying to find some grip. And I'm not really sure what to expect yet.
Sartaj Mann won the 9th running of the iRacing.Funny 250 last week, and after leading 49 laps at Daytona, he spoke to JCTV in Victory Lane.
Hey, Sartaj, what an incredible, dominating performance tonight. I am absolutely impressed with the run. Of course, you won the Clash a few weeks ago. A little bit of a tough break in the duel, but dominating performance here tonight. What got you through to get this victory?
Well, I mean, really, my teammates had a big part to do with that. Hunter, Mark, Justin, and Zach. I mean, we were just really a whole team there, like just a whole team effort. It's really what it is at play tracks, you know. Every single pit stop. I mean, we ended up like just gapping the field. Really, really had a big thing to do with all that. And I don't know who interviewed me after the clash, but I said I'd be back here, and I didn't think I'd be back here this soon. But yeah.
Starting off the season on a strong note, and also taking home some extra cash. Is there anything that kind of have your eyes on for what you might use that $200 for?
Not necessarily. I think I'm gonna split some of it with my teammates because I really wouldn't have won that race without them as well. I mean, th- like without them, really none of us would have even had a chance. Like, I think I'm gonna have to give some of it to them. So I don't really know what I'm gonna spend it on, but yeah.
All right. Well, worked super well with your teammates. I noticed there the last pit stop that we had under green flag conditions. You guys kind of stayed out a little bit later than everybody else, trying to work together. Was that kind of the plan? Did you guys want to try to catch a caution or just kind of run it dry?
We didn't want to caution at all. That was the last thing we wanted, but we wanted to run it dry. Honestly, we wanted to really just be by ourselves and just pick up speed like that, because once when you're in a real big pack, I feel like you can't really just push the absolute most like you can if you're like in a smaller pack of like 4 or 5 6 cars. And yeah, that we wanted to stay out that long and really pull away like that.
All right, well, who do you have to think? Who gets done behind that 49 machine?
Um, I mean, I had a spotter this race, Benjamin A. White. Really, he pulled all them strings for all of us. Really, he pulled those strings for the pit calls, all that. He did that. He did that. And for sponsors, I mean, I guess I gotta thank my thugs. You know, they didn't believe in us, but yeah, I gotta thank Triracial Racing and obviously my actual Team Peak Performance as well for that win.
All right, Sartaj Mann with the race victory here in the iRacing.Funny 250 at
Austin J. Magill now joins Fastlane. Austin, you were running towards the front there on the last lap at Daytona the other night in the iRacing.Funny 250. I believe you were third on the outside on the last lap, in position to make a really great move, and you did make that move on the backstretch. You were just unfortunately by yourself. What was going through your mind at that time, and what was your game plan there on the front stretch to make more positions up?
Originally, I was just hoping that the guys behind me would follow me, seeing that I had a run going down the back straight. But you know, a little bit of anger, you know, after I realized nobody followed me, and I know I'd be dropping back pretty far because I'd be stuck on the top alone. So yeah, I just tried my hardest to get to the front, but unfortunately, I had no help, so I couldn't really do anything there.
Yeah, and you were very lucky, I'd say, to get to the end, though, in general. Very chaotic end of that race. How much was the endurance, from your point of view, your seat, and what did you see there, in especially the last couple laps and that overtime restart?
Yeah, it was tough. You know, we had a good run for about the first 30, 35 laps going green. Then something happened under that first green flag pit stop, threw out a caution, and you know, I kind of messed up the whole field, and yeah, just everything was a little bit messed up ever since that after those first 35 laps. But you know, it was tough. You know, I had to keep my composure throughout most of the race, all the restarts. You know, make sure I didn't miss a shift, make a bad move and wreck somebody. Also, make sure I didn't get wrecked myself, and you know, just try to work with my teammates as much as I could.
Yeah, speaking of getting wrecked, it looked like you were the first car who got tipped sideways in the tri-oval, coming to the checkered flag, and you were able to save it, come across the line in 8th. Overall, how was that finish for you to kick off the season, the 10th season of Slide Job, and looking forward to the remaining 15 races we got?
Yeah, it was a little chaotic, if I'm being honest. You know, seeing as I was on the third line on the top, going into 3 and 4, I just tried to move back into line. But since I got pushed out, the cars behind me were obviously trying to shuffle me out. So I think I got a little bit of net code there in the end, and I got moved sideways. I did manage to save it, and then you know, just uh like extra contact after spun me out again coming across the line. But seeing as I didn't get any help on the last lap, I'm satisfied with 8th place for the first race of the season.
Going forward, what are we to come to expect out of Austin Magill on JCTV on Tuesday nights? What are you looking forward to the most? What we got left this season, of course.
You know, after last season, I know what kind of things go on in this league, and I've been pretty happy with last season, so I'm hoping this season will be great too. You know, you guys put on a hell of a broadcast every Tuesday, so always looking forward to rewatching those after the race. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the rest of the season.
All right, Chicagoland is race 2. How much track time have you been considering? Considering we are still 6 days right now until race time. But how much practice are you have lined up this week, and expectations for that race? First real race of the season, I guess you could say, after 4 plate races to start off the year.
Obviously, yeah, I'm gonna do quite a bit of practice with my teammates, discuss some tactics to better our chances of recording a good finish. Well, yeah, like you said, it's like the first actual race of the season, but I can never tell how these races are gonna go, so I just got to keep practicing. Hopefully, we can get a bit lucky, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, obviously we've yet to see how that race is going to play out at Chicago, but Las Vegas is race number 3. Similar track on paper, mile and a half, D-shaped oval, but they race different, they look different. What do they feel like difference in that Xfinity car, and what do you anticipate those races back-to-back are going to play out for the Slide Job Series?
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty interesting having 2 mile-and-a-half tracks back-to-back. Chicago's more of a, I want to say more of a banked track. You got to let off a little bit more. I want to say there's easier to run multiple grooves around Chicago. Vegas, it's a little bit easier to run wide open on the throttle during the first few laps. But two very different racetracks in my opinion, and both tracks are very fun to race. So we'll see how it goes with the guys in the league.
On February 9th, JCTV hosted a special broadcast from Daytona, the Joe's Karting 172. After a chaotic race with the trucks on the high banks, we saw another unforgettable finish.
Hey, Jeffrey, this is the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
What's up?
Well, we don't get the opportunity to talk to you a lot here on JCTV. You're not really, you don't run a lot of the races with us here, so we always like to indulge ourselves in a little bit of Armistead, and we get to do so tonight. That Archibald truck has been running pretty good, up to third now with a shot at it here. What are you looking forward to heading into this first overtime attempt?
Well, I don't know. I got Dalton behind me. I don't, and Oscar's in front of me. I've raced with him a lot. I just don't know who my friends are right now and who does and doesn't have damage. So, I don't know. I'll probably work with Dalton if I can, or just go solo. So we'll see how the runs work out, and hopefully we can go green to the end.
All right. Well, you were my pick to win tonight's race, so I'm no bias, but I am pulling for you to get it done in that Archibald truck.
Yep. Hopefully we can put Archibald in victory lane. We will see.
Alrighty, we'll let you get back to it. Good luck out there.
Yep. Appreciate it.
And that is Jeffrey Armistead, driver of that number 20 Archibald truck. Looking to see if he can put it in victory lane, but he's got a bit of a tall task ahead of him. Ethan Yon has been very, very dominant tonight. Very much in control. Overtime attempt 1 of 3. Jan, Enriquez, Armistead, Kelly, Kukulon. Green flag. Back out. We're back underway.
Outside lane, so much more organized than the inside. But that 12 Kukulon, he moves down to the bottom. And right now, it is only Enriquez and Kelly out there. The next truck is several car lengths back, and that is Mason Shrek.
And you see O'Neill is trying to hold the bottom lane. Dadgar is right there pushing him. Now Dadgar is going to the outside lane. So it's 4 and 4. It's an 8-horse race coming down the backstretch. Enriquez now inching ahead for the race lead as it's Kelly pushing him. Jan blinks out, and it's Armistead behind him. Kukulon as well is there. Mason Shrek, Dadgar, and O'Neill are all here in this pack. All 8 of them have a shot to win this one here as they will hit the stripe for the white flag. One more lap here at Daytona. Who's going to walk away with the win? Dadgar diving to the bottom. O'Neill's going to get right behind him, but up front Enriquez is going to clear out front of Jan. He will pull down in front for the race lead. Dalton Keller to the outside with Shrek out there with him. Only 2 trucks now populate the outside lane.
Jan making a move to the outside. That's going to help the inside even more here. Oh, contact. They're going to save it.
Oh, Kukulon does
And
not
there's the
save
wreck.
it. Around he goes. Armistead and Enriquez now battling. Kelly's right there as well. Armistead to the outside of Enriquez, side by side. Last season, Enriquez, lost on a photo finish. This season, he's going to lose it at the line to Jeffrey Armistead, who comes through to win the race. Jeffrey Armistead wins the Joe's Karting 172. Dalton Kelly second. Oscar Enriquez is third. Mason Shrek fourth. Ethan Yon comes home fifth. Shane O'Neill brings out this group here, finishing in sixth. What a battle to the line. And Jeffrey Armistead takes home the win. It's Jeffrey Armistead, your race winner here for the second annual Left Turn Lounge Joe's Karting 172. What a way to kick off the season. We'll see what he can do here. Sliding into the grass now is that 20. And not to brag or anything, Josh, but he was my pick to win.
Yeah, mine got P2 though.
So basically all I hear from that is another shortcoming by you at the hands of me. So we see here a celebration for Armistead as he wins it here. Everybody's celebrating pretty much in that infield course area. You look and see everybody celebrating. I heard an engine blow. You see their Shrek down there. And indeed, we have our winner. We spoke to him before the restart, and now we get to speak to him in victory lane. Jeffrey, I think I gave you that extra bit of motivation to get you to the finish line there.
You definitely did. I always want to win, but when I heard that you had picked me, I couldn't let you down. I can let myself down. I can't let anybody else down. Yeah, we were able to get it done. It was a pretty chaotic last lap. The first lap was pretty orderly. A lot of chaos kind of happened down that backstretch there, and I was able to get a good run and get the space I needed to make the move I needed to make.
Yeah, and that last lap, you mentioned you didn't have any friends yet, or you didn't know who your friends were going to be, but somehow you made it work out with both Oscar and Dalton together. But just that race as a whole, what was your point of view from the driver's seat? I know you mixed it up a little bit early on and then kind of dropped back and let all the chaos happen in front of you. So what was that like for you watching that race from your perspective?
Yeah, it was a little all over the place. At first, I kind of wanted to lay back, then I was like, I'm going to go for it. It was kind of calm and then not calm and then calm and not calm. Almost every lap, it seemed to change. We'd get orderly, and then we would get into a large pack, and depending on who was doing what, I would decide whether or not I wanted to bail out or not. But I decided, about 15 to go, it was time to really get up there, and I ended up getting caught up in something, I think, with 6 or so to go, 5 to go maybe, and had to use my fast repair, which I was lucky to still have. And, and then was able to be there at the end and make everything work with how the cards kind of shuffled there.
Alrighty, the 2023 season is upon us. Of course, this is to kind of celebrate the start of the new NASCAR season. Who are you looking forward to rooting for? What races are you looking forward to? And are there any other leagues that you're looking forward to racing in as well? I know you race court with us on Monday nights, but maybe any other leagues you're looking at running this season.
Yeah, I guess as far as leagues and stuff, yeah, court will definitely be one, running the trucks there. Maybe the Cup Series whenever I get a chance, but not really full time. That'll probably be my main one. I'll dip my toe into ITPN here and there, and who knows? I know the group that we race with, they'll sometimes post leagues and races within leagues where they might be doing recruiting or something like that, and I'll see what's going on. But yeah, court will be my main one. Yeah, looking forward to the 2023 season getting fully underway. It's always good to start this off with a win.
Alrighty, Jeffrey, congratulations again, and you got Archibald in victory lane for the first time tonight. So congrats on that as well.
Yep, it's Archibald's home track, so happy Archibald gets a win.
Alrighty, Jeffrey Armistead, you're a race winner here in the Joe's Karting 172.
All right, thanks, Dawson.
So Josh, before last week's episode of Fastlane came out, I believe a significant milestone occurred on the JCTV channel. Can you talk more about it?
Yeah, we actually recently hit 300 subscribers on JCTV. I'll tell you, it's not a high number for sure, but I think it's proven that um, we can do it. We can put on great broadcasts, and we've got an amazing team. And throughout this entire process, and I will never, um, as we continue to grow, I will never um, take credit for any of it. I mean, I'm just one guy behind a team of people that have come together to make this possible. And we've had a lot of help along the way. Cameron Caldwell, he's even the one that came up with the name and designed the logo, and a lot of the graphics that you see today is all because of him. And then all of our commentators, you yourself, Dawson, um, and we've had more people coming in, a few other people that have commentated along the way as well. It's this all wouldn't be possible without so many people, and so it's an amazing accomplishment for where we're at, and I can't wait to see where our channel can continue to go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't been here since the beginning, but very close to the beginning, watching it grow. I remember the 150 subscriber mark, the 200 mark, and now, of course, 300 being a part of it. So cool, so special to see it grow behind the scenes, like you mentioned, and all the work everyone puts in week in, week out, and growing from one stream a week to now 3 streams a week must be pretty satisfying, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're always open to adding new shows if it works out. Um, that there's been a couple of times that I've had to um, turn people down, and it's not because they don't have a good product. It's because we just can't, you know, do what they're asking for. But I think as we continue to grow, it's just going to expand more and to be able to do more. And I've had some people ask about just kind of one-offs before, and I'm down for that. We had one of our biggest one-offs was Redditors versus Racers race that was back in July. Make that December, and it that really just helped us grow a lot as well. Um, but yeah, it's every number that I see. It's just to me, it's more than statistics. To me, it's more than um, just small things. It's to me, it makes me excited to continue to showcase what just amateurs can do to have fun. We're by no means professionals, but seeing the 3 shows that we have right now, all 3 of them are amazing series, and I love that JCTV gets to broadcast for them. The Slide Job MF Racing Design Slide Job series, the DI9 Designs NAOR series, and BSR and the Pits News Truck series. All 3 series we have right now are amazing, and uh, super happy that we get to put on the show for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we talk a lot about with all these drivers, and in the show and pre-race in our broadcast, and we don't get to hear much from you with them often on Saturday nights because you're out on the racetrack. But what do you have to look forward to as we got only a couple races left in this In the Pits News Truck Series chase for Season 3, and currently the DI9 Designs NAOR Series has a couple of races left also.
Yeah, and as far as NAOR goes, I wanted to race in that series. I've been friends with a lot of them for several years, and I made a couple of starts with them in their season before this current one, um, to finally get to race with them on iRacing because that was their first one on iRacing, and then my schedule kind of changed around, so I wasn't able to race with them like I had wanted to. But they started off the season, and I was planning on racing. My whole plan was to race, and then I saw a message from Josh Arnold that they didn't have a broadcaster, and I to me I'm like, these guys, they deserve to have a broadcast, and their talent level is up there. Yeah, I want to race, but I have and then I told him, I was like, it kind of turns out I'm a broadcaster as well, um, who has a channel. So why don't I broadcast for you guys? And it was actually supposed to be like a one and done deal, but everybody was like, come back, keep broadcasting for us. And so I spoke with Josh about it, and we worked out a deal to get JCTV to do NAOR, and I'll tell you what, I as much as I want to be out there racing with those guys, I think I have as much fun in the booth calling those races as I do, or as I probably would be out there racing. And the talent level in there is so high anyway. I think overall, I'm definitely excited and happy to have chose to be in the booth rather than out on the track with them.
Yeah, you mentioned that first race. I was part of that broadcast at Atlanta, I believe, the new Atlanta, and it was such a unique show with those Xfinity cars at that style of track. It raced nothing like what they put on in real life, so it was real fun to see those guys of NRL, my first time experiencing anyone in that league at all, and seeing that the show they put on. It was really exciting. It was something different, and to join you in the booth for most of the season like I have done, it's been so exciting and fun to see those guys put on a show like you mentioned, with the competition level being as high as it is. And uh, we usually don't have a bad race on Friday nights, and it's been so much fun.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think there's been a race that has been a bad race over there. We've had a couple of races that probably doesn't showcase what they could do a little bit like what they would want, but overall, you take these guys, put them on a track, you're not going to see a caution fest. You're going to see a race that has long green flag runs, a lot of green flag pitting, maybe a couple of times, having a strategy, off strategy call in there. But overall, those guys, they all do an incredible job.
And our other show, Tuesday nights, of course, the Slide Job MFRD Premier Series just got underway for Season 10. We had the iRacing.Funny 250 a couple weeks ago, and now that race at Daytona, a pretty event for Josh. What was your opinion from the booth being able to call that race with Dawson and Cameron?
Man, I'll tell you what, it was Daytona, that's for sure. Classic Daytona race. Um, there was great racing overall, and I'll tell you the one thing that really stood out to me was how well a lot of the new guys worked so well with each other. The eventual winner, um, man, he
he absolutely like just dominated. Him and his teammates did such a great job at staying ahead of the pack, and if another guy got around them, they were right there back trying to get ahead of the guy that passed him to get to the lead. So that Daytona race, it was I think it was definitely a battle uh, of staying out front rather than kind of riding line. And another driver that I had my eyes on pretty much all race was Christopher Basinger with his new team. He really didn't work with his teammates too much at all in that race, and he stayed up front. He had a great chance to try to win the race. I think he finished fourth in that race, but he was my pick to win, and so I kept my eye on him pretty much all race long. Um, but that was just race one of the season. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season is like. We got Chicagoland coming up, and it's going to be the first time that we could really see the new guys, what they have at a track that's not pretty much just full throttle the entire time. And I think Daytona, it was a great show. I love Daytona. I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. As are we, and we're sure to have some great racing rest of the season on JCTV. Big things to come. Congrats again, Josh, on getting 300 subscribers from really all of us, and it's been so much fun to be a part of it, like I mentioned before.
Martinsville Speedway. It's the old-fashioned stuff. It was that throwback to full contact racing, which we don't see much of anymore.
Green flags in the air. We are underway here at Martinsville. Parker.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say it. Field goes down side by side, and Parker getting a monster run on the outside. The outside works here for a couple laps, but you got to get down quick. He knows what it takes to get to the lead.
Three wide. Cole Snyder.
Three wide. Contact. Chris Wright losing on that deal. Chris Wright's going to fall all the way back to the
bottom just a little bit. It helps Wygen. Still right there. Wygen gets Wygen.
Oh, and we have contact. Nick Hapiak is around off the bumper of Kenneth Cheney. Looking back at the replay, it was contact with the 00 in the 6 that sent the 6 actually up into the 39. 39 doing nothing wrong there. Just out there in no man's land where the 6 basically, the 39 turned into the wall there.
This opens up the door for Chris Wright.
It really does, and Kenneth Cheney's going to pull down and the contact between them.
Oh my!
How do they almost keep it straight? Zachery Meredith doing all he could to wheel it there. He got a huge shot.
Right is looking. Right's gonna send it. Not quite. It's gonna be Pacey Wygen off turn 4. Pacey Wygen with the win.
Second win of the season. We talked about short tracks being his thing earlier. We've seen that he had speed in the car. He showed us how aggressive he can be here. And now putting on a show as he's drifting around the corner.
On this edition of Fastlane, we're excited to debut JCTV picks, and of course, we're picking for Sunday's 65th Daytona 500, 2:30 p.m. on Fox. Based off the randomizer, Josh Coppernoll of JCTV, of course, went first. As it stood, he chose Ryan Blaney. Then next was Jonathan Canfield, who chose Justin Haley. I went next, Adam Coon picking Noah Gregson, with Cameron Caldwell picking Brad Keselowski. Michael Kruger, JCTV driver for Piston Brook Racing, has chosen Eric Jones, and Dawson Allen chose Chris Buescher. Those are our picks for the Daytona 500 on Sunday. Who are you choosing? We left both the front row available on the table and both the door winners from Thursday night. Noah Mairui now joins Fastlane. Noah, pretty rough go at Daytona for yourself. Got caught up in a couple incidents. Quite a few laps down. I believe you were 10 laps down. You ended up in 29th on the racetrack. What was that race like from your advantage? What did you see with all the crashes going around there in the late goings, and what ultimately took you out there in the late stages?
I think, with all the crashes at the end, I think people were just getting kind of impatient. But that happens at super speedway races. But the wreck that took me out, that was just unfortunate. I think I was running towards the back of the pack, and there was a guy on my outside, and I think he thought he was clear, and he wasn't, and just came down and got into me. So like I said, it was unfortunate, but it happens, and it is what it is. So I think a lot of the good drivers, most of the good drivers had a bad day. So hopefully it doesn't affect me too bad in the points.
Yeah, it was the first race of Season 10 for the Premier Series. What is the season going to be like? What do you anticipate for yourself personally on the track and overall as the MFRD's Premier Series is celebrating this 10th season and had such a phenomenal start to it with the iRacing.Funny 250 last night?
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to be all about consistency. I think the expectation and the hope is that we have pretty big field sizes throughout the season. But even if we have roughly the same field size that we did last season, I think the competition has just gotten a lot tougher this season. There've always been really good drivers, but I think all of those good drivers have gotten better, and we've added more drivers that are just as good, if not even better. So it'll be tough, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully can pick up a win or two and make the playoffs and make a run at the championship. But there's a couple new tracks in there that I think are gonna throw some people for a loop, and hopefully I can capitalize on some of those. But as far as season 10 of Slide Job goes, I'm just looking forward to moving forward and going through all these different races. I think Daytona was a bit crazy, a little crazier than I thought, than probably any of us thought it would be. But I think things will settle down starting next week, and it should be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of exciting things planned with different special events within some of these races, with paint schemes, the throwback to Slide Job's history, and some other awesome events that I think people will really enjoy throughout the season.
Well, you mentioned Daytona being a little bit of a mess, and one unforeseeable mess in that race was some weird the caution was explainable, but the fallout of it with wave around occurring. You can probably explain this a little bit better than I. But from the broadcast, we saw a couple wave arounds go unnoticed at first, and then restart, and then an automatic manual caution. A couple of guys upset at the outcome of that last night post race. And as CEO of Slide Job Racing League, what can we see to see something like this be circumvented in the future, and what are the repercussions that we saw last night?
Well, I think thankfully, first of all, I think we got really lucky that it's at a super speedway. So I don't think that really affected the outcome of the race. It shuffled some things up, but I think it definitely could have been much worse had it been at pretty much any other track. But it was really odd. I don't know that we're still 100% sure what happened. We know that it's something on iRacing's end. I think something someone said was that it's some sort of glitch that has been around for a long time that supposedly was fixed, but apparently wasn't. And I think it was one of those incidents that will probably never happen again. But I think we understand better what happened. Looking back on it now, I think at the time we were all really confused at what was going on. And I think it was just a matter of when the caution came out. So the initial caution was an admin caution because it was all happening on the apron. So it wouldn't have brought out a caution through iRacing. And I think because of where people were at on track and on pit road, I think that's what caused some of the confusion on iRacing's end of it. Again, for whatever reason. But yeah, it put 2 drivers a lap ahead. And realistically, what we should have done, and what we'll do in the future if this ever happens again, hopefully it doesn't, but if it ever happens again, what we should have done was have everybody wave around the pace car with them to get back on the lead lap, and then just cleared the penalty after the fact. But we didn't do that. Like I said, it was a weird set of circumstances to have all of that happen. But I think when things like that happen, I think we learn from them, and it helps us be better equipped for situations like that in the future. And like I said, hopefully nothing like that ever happens again. But if something happens like that again, I think we're better prepared. We better understand kind of what's going on and what we can do to kind of get around that. But yeah, the big thing was that for whatever reason, I think the pace car just came out in front of the wrong people or the right people, but it didn't correctly account for some of the people that weren't in the vicinity of the pace car. So it just, like I said, it was a crazy circumstance, but we're definitely going to review that this week and make sure that if that does happen again, we're much better prepared for that.
Well, one thing you brought up was the new drivers added to the league. This is something we brought up last week on the show. A lot of drivers that we interviewed were excited to race the new guys, both in duos, get some laps around them, and looking forward to seeing how they performed in the big show at Daytona. After seeing the race, not only firsthand yourself, but now looking back on it, how excited are you for the new guys joining in, and overall the race itself with the new people? We like you've mentioned, it did kind of get crazy at the end. Is there anything we need to look forward to the rest of the season though with those new people added, and who are you looking forward to the most racing against?
Well, we added a lot of people from Blazer Sim Racing and the in the Pits News Truck Series, and we've got some people from some other parts of iRacing, from either people knew them and invited them, or from their recruitment races earlier in the year. And I think that for the most part, a lot of those people are really, really solid, really fast, really competitive, and that's super exciting. I think even though we all would want to do the best that we can, I think we all want to be challenged too when we get into these races. And I think that definitely helps that side of it. Some of the people that joined, I think they're going to have to learn a bit more, and be a bit more smooth on the track. And on our end, the people that have been there for a while, we're going to have to learn how to race around them. So there's going to be some hiccups along the way, and that's just part of it. But yeah, it's super exciting to have a really good number of people in there. In terms of people that I'm excited to race, he wasn't in the iRacing.Funny 250, but Alonso Chicano He was going to show up. He was gonna qualify, but had some really unfortunate personal stuff come up basically right before qualifying. And so because of the number of people we had show up, he wasn't able to be there. But I look forward to him throughout the season. I think he's a really fast guy. He raced with us some last season and was really fast. So that'll be exciting. And just all the new teams. There are lots of really solid drivers. It's hard to pick one, but if I had to pick one, that would be one. Alonso Chicano is really good, and I think that'll be exciting to race against him more often.
Speaking of teams, you're on a pretty strong one yourself at Peak Performance Motorsports. 3 strong teammates you've got. We got some satellite teams there. What do you have to look forward to racing against them, looking against them, and probably contending for points, contending for wins against them later on in the season?
Well, I've been on Peak Performance Motorsports for a long time, and the people that are on there have been teammates of mine for years at this point. And so it's always fun to race against them, and especially to have them all back this season. A lot of them took last season off, and they're all back this season, so that's super exciting for me, and they all seem super excited to be back. But yeah, it's tough. They're always really strong. They're always really fast, and they definitely make me work harder to be up there with them, or at least try to be up there with them. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I think there will be a lot of tough battles throughout the season. We don't shy away from racing each other, that's for sure. So we've ended up in some incidents before in the past. Getting together, and that's taken us out of some races. But hopefully that doesn't happen this season. Hopefully it's just really strong, hard racing, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, we're basically a big group of friends at PPM and at a lot of our satellite teams. So it's fun to race with them every week.
One thing you brought up a little while ago was the special paint scheme races we're going to get to see this season. First one is going to be this week at Las Vegas, February 21st at 9 p.m. on JCTV. The patriotic schemes are going to get to show out at the Sin City this week.
So yeah, patriotic schemes. I think that's cool. I think that's a cool addition that we've brought in this season. We've seen some other leagues do special paint scheme events throughout their season. We've been a part of leagues that have done that, and it's always a really cool opportunity for creativity to shine. We've got a ton of really fantastic designers, and even people that don't do paint schemes, that just do paint schemes for themselves and don't do it for anyone else. There are a lot of really creative people, so it'd be really cool to see what kind of cars we get out on track. And I think the patriotic schemes, I think that'll be cool. I know that some of our Canadian friends, I've already heard some of them are going to run some Canadian schemes, so that'll be cool to see. I think it'll be really neat to see all of the creativity throughout the field, and Michael Falk, Blaine Sparling, there's just a ton of them that do really solid paint schemes, so it'll be cool to see what they show up with.
They will be cool to see, and another thing that I think is going to be pretty cool to see is going to be the All-Star race a little later down in the season at Concord on April 4th. What do we have to look forward to at that race? A little different track that we're used to seeing on iRacing schedules, especially with these Xfinity cars.
Yeah, we're still working on an exact format for that. I think we've got it almost finalized, but we'll be announcing that fairly soon. But Concord has been a cool track. It's got a lot of history in the early part of Slide Job. We raced there in Season 1 and Season 2. And those races were always really crazy, but a lot of fun. So definitely looking forward to going back to Concord and celebrate a bit of Slide Job's history. The league has been around for 5 years, and there have been a lot of changes. At one point in time, we were running the ARCA cars exclusively free tracks on iRacing, and we've come a long way. So it'll be cool to kind of throw back to some of that at the All-Star race. But I do think it's going to be really, really crazy, though. It'll be crazy. We definitely won't have all cars on track at the same time. We'll have it set up in a way that still makes it fun, but it'll be exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely a track. I'm looking forward to seeing how it races. Unfortunately, no longer with us in the real world, so it's going to be awesome to see these cars slide around there virtually. And I think it's a fun little triangle-shaped short track, so I can't wait to see how these Xfinity cars race around there. Thanks for taking time out and doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too.
Zachery Wareham now joins Fastlane. You were able to finish on the lead lap there, Zachery, in that crazy iRacing.Funny 250 we saw at Daytona. You were, although involved in the incident, coming to the checkered flag. What was that last overtime restart like, and the overall vibe on the racetrack with all the crashes going on there late?
I'm not gonna lie, I myself personally am not a big fan of super speedway racing, and I've been involved in a lot of them. But I do feel like that one sat very high up the list of, like, really tense moments, because I had absolutely no faith in this field, like making it fully to the checkered flag in one piece. But then again, you never have that expectation in overtime restarts at Daytona or Talladega. I will say my expectations were a little bit subverted by the fact that, yeah, we did pretty much almost make it there before the crash, but I feel like this whole build-up was caused by the whole build-up to the amount of, like, arguments and frustrations that went on after the checkered flag after the race could have been avoided or at least toned down a little bit. Because I feel like, it's first race of the season and everyone's really hungry for glory and everything like that. And, tempers are obviously going to be high, but I feel like the admins could have handled it better. The drivers, the competitors could have been more respectful. Just, I will look back at it with the lens and perspective that it could have been better, it could have been worse. It was definitely worse than better. And yeah, just not the prettiest or best showing we could have put on, I think. And then of course there was the whole debacle with the caution fest that I think got a lot of people frustrated, notably the triracial racing guys, which I could see both ways, and I'll agree with them in the sense that they were really frustrated when when two of the cautions were thrown for pit road exit incidents. I will agree with them and say that it is a little bit disappointing that a few drivers were not able to exit pit road in a very exit pit road cleanly. So, and then that evolved into the caution fiasco. We went a few laps longer than we needed to get black flags sorted and wave arounds and all that. Two of my teammates, Austin McGill and Michael Thorpe, ended up a lap ahead of everyone for some reason. I don't know what went on there. Again, I'll just look at this race with the mindset that it could have been worse, but it also could have been way better, and I think we really need to work on a few things moving forward.
Well, we talked about this a little bit on last week's show with the drivers we were able to speak to. They mentioned new drivers coming into the league and how they were able to use some of those laps in the duos to race around the new guys and see what they're going to be able to do at Daytona and how the race might be that we got to see for the iRacing.Funny 250. But like you mentioned, it did kind of get a little bit chaotic, and that caution with the wave around did put a little bit of a damper on things. Overall, though, what did you learn in that race, especially the new guys that you got to race around and all the new people added to the league? And what do you have to look forward to rest of the season overall racing this field of drivers?
There was this one lap where I believe Sartaj Mann, who eventually won the race, and I believe someone who was pushing him, I don't remember who it was, I think it might have been one of his teammates, came up the outside in a 2-car tandem and went straight to the lead, and I don't think they ever looked back. So that right there alone tells me that those triracial guys, they don't have fear. I honestly think it was a stupid move. It could have killed everyone, but I have to put respect on the fact that it got Sartaj to the lead, and he never looked back, as I already said. So they're definitely gonna be strong competitors coming in, and as if I didn't have enough to compete against in this league. And for my purposes, I feel like it's gonna be a really tough season. But I think my strong tracks are all relatively represented. I feel like Chicagoland next week is a really good one for me. It's my favorite 1.5 miles. Bristol is another one I look forward to, and both of the road courses, unless there's more than 2. Circuit of the Americas and Watkins Glen. I love road courses, so I'm just hoping that I can finish this season personally with more consistency, because I feel like last season I fluctuated between like occasionally having top 10 pace to just being a back marker, and that was a problem for me in season 8. So mostly this season I'm just looking for more consistency. And I think we have the tracks to do it, the car and the momentum and the right attitude to get that all done. And yeah, it's just I really hope that we all just have a great season in general. Like, we all want, I don't think there's a single like truly malicious driver in this league. We all want good hard racing. And so my expectations for this season is that we as a driver base are going to, come together and find that right balance between like aggression on the track and like respectfulness on track. And I think it's going to be a great season, personally.
Well, next up, you mentioned Chicagoland this week. What do you have to look forward to at that worn-out 1.5 track? A little bit different on each side of the track, not straight on the backstretch, and front stretch, of course, the D-shaped tri-oval. It's going to be a little bit different than what we see at Las Vegas in a couple weeks. 1.5s, though, back-to-back on the schedule. How different are they going to race? And like I said, what do you have to look forward to these 2 races?
Personally, Chicagoland is my favorite 1.5 miles. It's a unique track, to be sure. Of course, with the curved backstretch, the banking of the turns, it's not like the other 2 very smooth 1.5 miles that you have on the schedule, which are Las Vegas and Kansas, which are the 2 most similar tracks to Chicagoland. My big advantage, I think, at Chicagoland is my ability to run the outside, at least in turn 1 and 2, because in turns 3 and 4, right in the middle of them, is a huge bump. And I think any driver running the outside at Chicagoland needs to be conscious of that bump. I think the big play at Chicagoland for any driver, for all the drivers racing next week, is going to be patience. You need to be able to let a car by in order to pass them later with your better tires, because you're not pushing as hard. Unless, of course, it's a very caution-filled race, in which case, you know what, go ahead, push as hard as you want every run, because it's only going to last a few laps anyway, and you can just pit on the next caution. But hopefully it won't have to come to that. In terms of Las Vegas, in 2 weeks' time, it's a similar format. I tend to prefer inside passes, though, at Las Vegas. It's crazy how, like, just a little bit of a different configuration, different banking, different surface age can affect the way you like to pass race cars and divvy your fuel mileage and your tire runs and all that up between tracks. And of course, you're going to need to get practice in for both because they are so different despite being so similar. And that's one of the beauty of NASCAR is that no two tracks are identical. So I think it's going to be a unique challenge. Maybe some people might come into Las Vegas still with their mind in the Chicagoland setting, and I don't know, that could mess them up. I just think it's going to be an interesting 2 weeks to just see who overall is the best between these two, and who falls off the most between them. Who was going to do the best at Chicagoland and then maybe doesn't do as well at Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see for sure. Two different tracks, like I mentioned, and like you mentioned also, and it's going to be first real 2 races of the season, not counting all the plate races we saw to kick off the year. With that being said, after Daytona, the 12 car ranks 11th in the points. So what are you going to try and do here to keep that car up there and move a little bit forward here these next opening weeks in the season?
I'm definitely going to be targeting Chicagoland as a place to potentially get a top 5 or a win in the right circumstances. I definitely don't think that I, as a driver, am capable of challenging the good drivers in this league. But I feel like with a track like Chicagoland, I can make an impact and at least put it higher in the running than I would at most other tracks. I definitely have my eye on Bristol because I love Bristol. I love short tracks in general. And Chicago and Circuit of the Americas, of course. Just a nice solid run of good tracks for me, or at least tracks that suit my skill set. And again, we're just looking for more consistency, and I'd like to make the playoffs this season, which I think is the perfect way to build on a most improved award and the fact that I was best of the rest in points last year. So targeting a playoff run, I like the idea of these next few. I like my chances at these next few tracks, except for Las Vegas. I don't particularly run very well at Las Vegas, but I just solid finishes and yeah. It's going to be a good few weeks for me, I think, if I can keep myself out of trouble. I definitely ran into a few problems over these few Daytona races. Of course, I was the cause of one of the cautions in my dual race, which, again, I still believe that was my fault. And then Daytona, I feel like some people were a little bit frustrated with the way that I was changing lanes. So I'll clean up that a little bit and move on to a stretch of pretty good tracks for me and see if I can point my way into the playoffs.
Well, we're looking forward to see what that 12 car can do, and we're going to be, of course, watching Zachery.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, that was all the questions I had. I was hoping Josh would have more since he was there last night. So, if there's anything you want to bring up, go ahead right now, and I don't mind. We can try to talk about something if you want.
There definitely is something on my mind following Daytona that I want to bring up, but I can't really think of what it is. This was a race that just had a lot of storylines going into it and coming out of it. Of course, the caution debacle and the triracial coming in and just absolutely wiping the floor with everyone. We could talk about the caution controversies, but I don't know. I feel like those details would better be discussed with someone. I definitely think things should be policed a little bit closer. I'm not sure how we're going to do that. I'm not a part of the admin team, although I'd very much like to be, because I think I'd do a fine job. I've run leagues in the past. and I'm considering starting my own again. But I know that he'll get it done. He's a great guy, Noah. William, they're all they all work really hard, and I'm sure they'll get us. I'm sure we'll have a great season with them at the helm.
Christopher Basinger returns to the fast lane. Last week we talked about the dual races and how crazy they kind of got with the new people joining. How was that dynamic with the combined field? 39 guys going for that $200 bonus, Christopher. You were right in the thick of it, especially at the checkered flag running in P4.
Oh man, it was absolutely unreal. To be honest with you, probably one of the hardest races I've ever done. One of the hardest super speedway races I've ever done. Only because all the new guys, I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know who I could go with, and I feel like that ultimately probably cost me a chance at a win. I'm not sure if that was going to be an interview question later. However, towards the end there, running with the new guys, I had nobody I knew up front to work with. So it was like, if I go, are they just going to shoot me 3 wide on the outside, or are they going to wreck me, or are they going to actually push me? So with all the new guys, man, there's just nothing I could really do. My teammates were all wrecked out. GGA was wrecked. They had a lot of issues as well. MFRD. It was just really, really, really rough. And I'm very surprised I did as good as I did with all the new guys in the field. And I believe that's why I got so crazy is, new people in here. We haven't really run with them very much yet. So it's really hard to know who's trustable, know who's not gonna wreck you when they're pushing you, or who's not gonna wreck when they're getting pushed. You know what I mean? So I felt like the impact was very big, especially for me.
Well, you mentioned racing those new guys. We raced at 2 mile-and-a-halfs up next. After 4 weeks of super speedway races, pretty much. How different is this dynamic going to be racing at 2 completely different mile-and-a-half tracks, really, how they are different banked and different aged on the pavement. So what do you have to look forward to for these 2 weekends to start off the season?
Well, something to look forward to is I don't really need to trust a lot of guys. I just can run my race without having to worry about these new guys. I'm just gonna run as good as I can. And I'm gonna tire save as best as I can. And I'm not really worried about anybody else. I think leading up to Chicagoland next week, it's just a lot of practice and a lot of hours at the sim. And a lot of VRS studying and telemetry studying, working with my teammates to just kind of perfect our lines and just make sure we're perfect going into next week. I'm looking for hopefully a good finish, and I'm hoping to be up front. I know at Chicagoland, it's in slide job. Many times before, I'll get to the lead real quick, but then I'll just fall off real fast because my tires, I don't save them. So I think it's going to be really important for me to tire save going into here. And with all that practice, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to run up front.
Coming off a strong Daytona, you finished 4th. You're actually 2nd in points. How does this boost your confidence going into next week in Chicagoland?
Oh, not at all. I'm going to be honest. I was already really confident going into the season. And I didn't really set any expectations for myself. I just wanted to do what I could this season and prove that if I set my mind to something, I can do it. With Daytona, I really just kind of didn't do anything. I was just chilling the whole race, and I ultimately really just got lucky with the finish. I didn't really have to work hard for it. But with going to these other tracks, I feel like Chicagoland is really going to be a breaking point for me. It's really going to show, am I going to be able to do this? If I do well, it's really going to boost confidence, and if I don't do well, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna suck. And it's gonna be tough. So, yeah. In general, I can't really say that Daytona has boosted my confidence. However, it just kind of gave me the extra motivation though to work harder. We know we're already set up pretty well, but I mean, the first race of the season, it's not crazy important. It's not like, you do bad in Daytona and you're done for the season. No, all these guys are still in, and I still have to work, and I still have to really see. We're going to, I would say, more of a skill track next week. So it's, a lot of these guys haven't raced like a skill track in this league yet. I mean, not at all. I mean, we had iRacing Super Speedway, Daytona, the duels, iRacing.Funny 250. I don't see a lot of skill there. I see more luck, and I feel like the only skill that you're really needing at Daytona is wreck avoidance and positioning. But going into Chicagoland, we're really gonna see who is good and who is not, and that's just the harsh reality of it.
So Daytona, you didn't really work with your teammates during the race as much as I think other teams did. Specifically, the winner of the race, Sartaj Mann, him and his team seemed like they were really well working with each other. You were up front most of the race, where your teammates were kind of all over the place. Do you think for the drawing board for Talladega, which is several weeks away, that is something to kind of look at to see what they did successfully that you guys would like to try and draw up for Talladega?
So with that, not to throw my teammates under the bus or anything, but I feel like I had the better mentality between them. I feel like staying up front was definitely the play. The wrecks were in the middle to the back. And I feel like going into Talladega, I think we want to stay up front more and control the field. I had nobody around. So Sartaj's team, I think Triracial Racing, correct? And those guys like PPM, they were controlling the field. They had full control the entire race. Sartaj led, I think, 57 laps. They just had full control. We couldn't do anything because I had nobody around me. We couldn't really make any moves. Everyone was just so much better than us there. And it didn't help that, unfortunately, Ben and Jackson were wrecked out pretty early from the first pit stop. But yeah, for Talladega, down the road, I think the game plan is really just going to be stay up front. I had a feeling that was going to be what was going to be successful for those guys. There's only one main guy that really went from the back and came to the front, and that was William Martin. I think he started 37th or something and drove up to 7th, 5th. He was running way up there. But he was the only really standout driver that we had, I think. So yeah, staying up front. Don't drop to the middle or the back because that's where the wrecks are. It's pretty rare that there's a wreck up front compared to the back. I'd rather take my chances up front.
So speaking of Daytona, you mentioned you kind of hung out most of the race. What did you see from your point of view, especially when it got crazy? At the end, there were a lot of crashes, and you were able to snake your way up through there, avoid them, and like I mentioned earlier, be in position to take the finish line in fourth.
Well, it wasn't ideal for me, to be honest. There was a lot that could have went different. Actually, you know what? Rethinking that, I think that what I did was 100% ideal. However, I'm kind of gonna jump back to the teammate thing as well. When I have all those guys I didn't know who they were or what they were gonna do, I mean, I wasn't already trusting a lot of those guys up there with how the race was going. So I knew it was Mark, and Justin, all those guys up there. I had two options coming to the white flag, and then one of those options was to stay low, hold my line. I think it was third in line, just hold it. Or I had an opening to hop up. If I hopped up, I felt like the outcome was they would have taken me 3 wide because they had momentum. They were running, they had the draft. They were just going to swing by me, and I don't think they would have helped me at all, to be honest with you. Or they would have pushed me, and it would have caused a big wreck. I couldn't justify jumping to the top ahead of them. I couldn't trust them fully at all. Now, if I had a teammate behind me instead, or someone I knew, like maybe someone in GGA, or my team, I felt like it would have been different. I felt like I could have hopped up, we would have went to the front, and I would have had a big chance to win that race. Yeah, but unfortunately at the end there, it couldn't work out.
Well, we're going to look forward to Las Vegas in a couple weeks' time from right now. Well, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, second mile and a half track in a row on the schedule. How different do you think these races are going to play out? Obviously, we haven't seen Chicago quite yet and how that's going to race, but should have some expectations with these Xfinity cars there. What do you have in general on the mindset for Las Vegas?
Man, I love these questions, man. But yeah, mindset is to keep the car clean, save tires as much as I can. People who are burning their stuff up, they can go around me if they want. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Tire saving is the biggest thing at Chicagoland, and this is really what gets people is they're gonna push too hard and they're gonna fall back, especially at these like mile and a half or these medium length tracks, because they think they can just run around pushing it fully and expect it to work out in the long run. It just doesn't work like that. I feel like there's just so many skilled guys. It's not going to be like any other season before where, we have a lot of 5K, 4K iRating guys in the field. And I know iRating doesn't speak for everything, but whole field is just skill. So I think there's going to be a lot of tire saving. I'm gonna be one of those guys tire saving. And I don't really have a game plan just yet. I mean, looking at Chicagoland, I'm gonna put some laps in. I'm gonna practice. I don't really know what I want to do yet. But the main focus for me is how are these guys in these cars that we've seen in previous races? How are they saving tires but still leading the race and being so fast, but yet being successful with tire saving? I can't grasp that yet, and I hope through practice that I will be able to. But yeah, it should be a clean race, should be a good race, and I'm excited for it next week.
All right, well, that's all the questions I have. I think that's all the questions Josh has. So thanks for joining us once again, Christopher, and good luck the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we get to talk to you again, and maybe on the JCTV broadcast in a couple weeks.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. I was hoping I'd be able to talk to you guys on Tuesday night, but didn't pan out.
Unfortunately, it didn't. So close, but it still was exciting to see you up there and get so close to contending for that win in the iRacing.Funny 250. And we're going to look forward to, of course, seeing you rest of the season and try and contend for this championship and slide job.
Yeah, as always. Yeah, thank you guys for putting on such a good show as well. I mean, I love going back and rewatching them.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Fastlane, a JCTV broadcast. And don't forget to tune in to JCTV every week for iRacing broadcasts. Our upcoming JCTV broadcast schedule includes Friday, February 17th, the DI9 Designs NAOR Series races at Charlotte at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, February 18th, the In the Pits News Truck Series races at Martinsville. Racing begins at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, February 21st, the Slide Job Racing League MFRD Premier Series races in Las Vegas at 9 p.m. on JCTV. And Friday, February 24th, the DI9 Designs NAOR Series Season 12 wraps up from Michigan. Saturday, February 25th, the In the Pits News Truck Series Season 3 concludes at Kansas. And Tuesday, February 28th, the Slide Job Racing League MFRD Premier Series races from Bristol, 9 p.m. Eastern.